right. What is up? How we doing? How we doing? Hopefully you guys are having a good... Well, for me, it's early Sunday morning, but, yeah. Not quite tired yet. Still kind of, you know, a little awake. Got home probably about a couple hours ago, got a shower, and just was kind of sitting on the PC, kind of contemplating what I wanted to do and stuff like that. And I realized, like, as I was looking through stuff, I was like, you know, a year ago, I kind of picked up doing, you know, digital art and things like that and everything. And, I realized I never, actually did, like, a progress video of, like, all of the stuff I've done and everything, stuff like that. And it's kind of wild, to say the least, of, just looking back at things. I was like, oh my gosh, it's really been over a year now, and the progress that I've made over that time is kind of wild. Now, I mean, there's still a lot I have to learn. There's still a lot that I need to get better with. But even then, it was just like, dang, I actually kind of came a long way. And I guess this is kind of like sharing something here because, yo, Cats, what's up, buddy? How you doing, man? Hopefully you're doing well. Nico Arc noises. Yeah, I understand that. I actually played Melty Blood a couple nights ago and everything. So I'm still having a blast with that game. Like, with the changes that they made and stuff. Like, I'm having a ton of fun with that game. But, yeah, man. How you doing? Hopefully you're doing well. So, like, it's kind of interesting because, like, when I first, like, started thinking about, like, wanting to approach this and trying to do this and stuff like that and everything, like, I was sitting there, like, kind of like, I don't know. I don't think it's anything I could really try to learn or do or anything like that. And, my buddy, Rev, who is an art teacher, basically was like, you do realize I'm an art teacher, right? And I can show you that this is something you can actually do. And I'm like, okay, sure. Let's try it. You know, it's like, all right. So he kind of got me into it by, like, he sent me a TED Talk video, about how, like, art and everything and, like, doing drawing and stuff like that, that it's a skill. Obviously, yeah, there's people that are talented at it and can pick up things and do things quicker, and can grasp things better. But over time, it is a skill. It's something you have to practice at, something you have to, you know, work at and everything. If you want to be efficient and you want to be decent at it, you know, it's something that you just have to do. And, like, the video, I remember what it was like. It was like showing, like, doing, like, these cartoon faces, right, just based off of, like, basic shapes and basic lines. And, like, I was just like, huh, okay, this is kind of unique. And it kind of showed me how the show Doug was made. If you ever watch, like, the Nicktoons back in the day, and, like, all those, like, it was reminiscent of, like, these character faces look like characters from Doug, which was, like, that was the cartoons. It was, like, you know, Ren and Stimpy, Rugrats, Doug, like, those type of things and everything. You were about to boot up Strive and then saw us streaming, so you're here and said, oh, I didn't mean to take you away from Strive, man. Were you playing Bridget? And it's cool that you're here in the chat too, Cats, because I know a lot of Oh man, I know you're gonna see a lot of these pieces and you're gonna be like, oh god, like, like just looking at it, because like Cats here was like someone I was sending a lot of my stuff to for him to look at and everything, and I remember being critiqued a lot, especially at the beginning, and like, Cats, we're gonna laugh at some of these early pieces that I'm going to show here in just a second, because oh my gosh, like, it's funny because looking back at these, I was like, oh, this was where I was starting, and now looking back at it, it's just like, oh lord, it's kind of wild. Now I'm all in on Testament for this season. Oh, okay, you're playing Testament? Nice. I hear they are a good character. I know Zen has been playing a lot of Testament. So Baiken is Baiken's still their main, but is still Rob Zen's main. But I know he's been playing a lot of Testament, and I know he has fun with that character and everything. I don't know about that, Cats. I don't know about that. I appreciate the compliment, but I'm not quite sure about that. I don't know if I want to go that far. But yeah, without further ado, so yeah, I mean, I picked up trying to do art in, you know, I was sketching on paper. I was doing a lot of practices and just trying to sketch on a regular basis or everything. And I was always like, you know, I want to draw characters. I want to draw people. I want to draw all that stuff or anything. Test is a they, them. I'm kind of they, them. So I'm good. Yeah, exactly. Whatever works for you. Whatever works for you. So, oh, my bad. Should I start referring to you as that then? I never knew that you kind of changed in that. Should I start referring to you that then? I'm sorry. But, yeah, I guess without further ado, guess I should show, this is the, kind of reflected back on, the art progress that I've made over the year or so, and, this is, Cats, you're gonna laugh at this, because this was the first art piece that I ever did. Now, during this time, like when I was first learning, what I would do is I would sketch things on paper. I didn't have a digital tablet at the time when I started this. I want to say I like acquired the tablet that I use now. I want to say like it was a good like 4 months or like first 4 months. All this was done by sketching it out on paper and then uploading it to Photoshop and using mouse to try and do things. And yeah, a lot of it was rough. Okay, all right, sounds good. I just want to, you know, I want to be sure. I want to respect my friends, you know? I want to respect my friends. So, all right. So here we go. First kind of art piece that I did. You guys ready for this? Looking back at this, I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah, this was the very first art piece I attempted to try and do. And, as you can see, yeah, there's a lot of things that are, like, not fair. Just, you know, the lines, I was literally using, like, a line tool to try to, like, trace the sketch that I would do on paper over top of it. And then just do other things, with this and everything. But, like, this was like the first piece I tried to like do stuff with, like as far as like piecing everything together. So like I would sketch on paper first and then take the like upload to Photoshop, and then kind of go from there. So it was just like, all right, cool. Well, at the time when I started this up a year ago, it looks okay, but I could tell now like there's things that's wrong with it. Like, I mean, obviously the arm is like way too thin. Dress kind of looks a little awkward. There's a lot of like, there's not a lot of curve with like lines and stuff like that and everything, and it's a little, yeah, it's just a little rough. But you know, hey, we all have a starting point somewhere, right? So this was, like I said, this was like the one of my first like pieces I tried to do on a digital side of things with the like the sketch and stuff like that and everything. Tried to draw like an OC ninja kunoichi type girl. I remember I was struggling trying to get this eye right, so I decided to make it like, well, hey, let's do the hair covers the eye thing. That's a cool thing. We'll go for that. But kind of the same deal. Things are just kind of off a little bit as far as, you know, proportions and things like that or anything. Pose was still kind of stiff for the most part. There was like one little thing I was trying to do that like Rev was trying to show me as far as like doing digital stuff or everything. So like the mesh here and everything was actually just like a piece of mesh that I just grabbed off of Google Images, placed it there, and then just kind of contorted it and distorted it to kind of fit that to make it like she had like the mesh background here. So like, yeah, like it was definitely kind of off a little bit too. Like, you mean, it just look like it's all contorted and stuff. But yeah, like at this time, I was like, you know, still trying to figure things out, still trying to piece it together. And yeah, Cats, you're absolutely right. Like this was really during my stiff feely phase. But like I didn't know like what it meant to be like free flowy when like drawing stuff and everything. And like keep in mind too, like when I sketched this and everything, and then when I like tried to translate it to digital, I was literally using like the ink tool to try to do like the lining and stuff like that and everything. So like that's why it also kind of looked a little rough in that regard. I was also still trying to learn like proper shading and things like that. So like there's just a lot of things that are off. The kunai I did pretty good though. I gotta say, I did the kunai actually pretty decent, considering it was mouse. That was one thing I did relatively okay. So that probably was like the best part there was the kunai. Yeah. And eventually, Cats, like I know that was like the first thing you were trying to beat into my head is it's just like, stop being so stiff, make things more flowy, like add some more curve. Not everything's a straight line and all this stuff. Like I remember how much you were trying to beat that in my head as far as like, you know, learning things. Next piece. Yeah, Rain. From Blood Rain. So this was one I purchased the remake of the like the Fresh Bites or whatever it was. I can't remember what the exact was, but it was the remake of the 2D hack and slash version of Blood Rain. And I was just like, oh, this is kind of cool. I kind of want to try to do this pose of hers and stuff like that and everything. Yeah, still some things were kind of off. Arms were definitely way too thin. This boob ended up being kind of bigger than this one, but that's not like the end of the world there. But like, it was still like trying to practice things. Head's a little kind of weird shaped. It's not completely circular. But like even then there was still like a little bit of improvement. Like I was starting to get a little bit of a grasp of things, but obviously, yeah, still very rough. Still like trying to figure things out. Just noticed too, like the eyes are two different shapes here too. Like I don't know what I was trying to do. Like this eye looked completely different. But I remember like when I first posted this one though, like it actually kind of was like well received, because I think maybe this was I gotta look at the date of when I did this one. How many months was I in on this? Give me a second. Let me look up the date of this. So this was like a month. Okay, yeah. So this was like a month difference between the first piece that I showed off and everything, and then this one. So like this was like more like 3 weeks. More like 3 weeks in between. Between those two. So like it was kind of picking up there a little bit. Like you started to get a better grasp of things, but definitely still like still had a lot to do. Okay, let me go and pull this back up. Yeah, I see the smiley face. Like, yeah. But it was alright. I mean, it was okay. I mean, like I said, a couple things were... I look at it... It's funny now because I look at it now and I'm like, dang, what could I do to make this different now? And some of these I'm kind of like, man, I should maybe revisit and retry these again. And then kind of go from there. Okay, so this was about 2 months in. I started to get a better grasp of the poses. And I think this one was kind of like when I started to kind of like get used to things. I also started playing with backgrounds and stuff like that too, and try to make things a little sparkly. Now, even with this, like again, there's like things I started to catch on a little bit, but like even then I could look at this and see like, oh god, I messed up a few things. Like her neck's off center, like her neck is over here, so like looks like she has scoliosis a little bit. But even then, like I started figuring out the poses better. It's not as stiff looking pose wise. Anatomy wise, you know, things are off. Like I said, her neck looks like it's off line, like off center. Looking at it now, but like at least the pose now, like I was starting to figure things out. Hands, my god, freaking hands. Hands are the worst. Like hands are freaking terrible. Was probably the hardest thing for me to do was hands. Hands suck. And like it's funny, like everybody that I talked to that was like an artist friend of mine and stuff like that, they all said the same thing. It's like, oh god, yeah, you're gonna hate hands. Hands are gonna take forever. And they did. Like I still struggle with freaking hands. They're absolutely god awful. But yeah, like I said, it's trying to make things more flowy. You know, I started getting the pose down and everything. Like poses started looking more natural, more interesting. Still didn't quite get too much of a grasp for shading and stuff like that and everything. Like I'm still working on that aspect here. But at least now, like after a couple months of like trying things like that, it started picking up a little bit here. This one was one blonde wig away from being Bigenet. Yeah, I thought about doing a Bigenet art piece, to be honest. Bigenet's cool. Alright, next piece. What was going to be the next piece? Ah, Momo from My Hero Academia. Yeah, this was more kind of like a straightaway, like just trying to do something different. I hadn't really, I mean, outside of that rain piece I showed, I really haven't delved into too much doing like fan art and everything. And Momo is, you know, one of my favorite characters from My Hero, so decided to try hand at her. Came out okay. Still some things I needed to tweak. I realized like one shoulder's sharper than the other. I kind of messed that up. It's a little off center there, but hands were still kind of a little bit of a struggle. But I mean, all in all, for the most part, was coming away okay. And I was like at this time too, I was using, and I still do, like I use a ton of references still to try to like, you know, figure out the poses and stuff like that. When I made the transition to being all digital, obviously digital became a much easier thing to do for referencing and stuff like that, because, you know, you can import a pose or import like a 3D model and make a 3D model into a pose and everything, and then you can just sketch everything off the model, which is kind of like the process I'm doing. I'll take a 3D model and then I'll sketch out the, you know, the joints and do like the stick figure diagram off of the model, and then just go from there. As far as, you know, the poses now and everything, but like a lot of this was like before I started doing digital was just more or less eyeballing the poses and references when I was sketching all these on paper at first and then trying to import it to do it digital. So there is that. But yeah, that's Momo. Again, things started kind of getting together a little bit there. I was actually pretty happy with like how I shaded the hair here, and everything too. But that's Momo. I think this might have been the piece where things were starting to click a little bit better. The Tifa fan art that I did. This was the first one. Was pretty happy with the face. I kind of like made it very expressive, because that was one thing I was struggling with too, like trying to make expressive faces, and I still kind of struggle with that a little bit. But like this one, I was kind of I was very happy with this one, because I was just like, and like I was just like super, like I was kind of happy with this one. I was like, yeah, things are kind of coming together. And now looking back at it, I'm like, yeah, there's still a couple things that are kind of off, but it's not nearly as noticeable. Like, one thing I can see that's off now, looking at it, forearm being longer than her actual arm. Yeah, it's longer by like, it's almost double the size of her regular arm, which is not the case at all. Nobody has a longer forearm than than a regular arm. So that one that's one thing I noticed that I'm kind of like, oh yeah, that one's off a bit, to say the least. But the perspective of everything else looks kind of correct. Neck might be a little too thick there too, but I mean, like I said, things were kind of starting to come together a little bit. And this piece was kind of like a piece I was like, okay, things are kind of working. I'm a big fan of learning how to eyeball more. Helps out a lot long term, but also it's a long, tedious journey if you choose that route. Yeah, I mean, I think it's having a good mix of both. I mean, I think it's good to have like a foundation, like diagram and everything. But then when you start adding the other things, right? Like when you start adding the other pieces, like you have your base foundation, and then once you start stacking everything on top and you start adding all the other visual aesthetics and everything, eyeballing things, makes a lot more sense. And like, to be honest too, like you could look at things and be like, something's not right here, especially like the more information you take in as far as like your digital, like visual library, right? As far as when you're doing things. So it's funny though too, because like when I look back at these older pieces, I can definitely see some of the things that were kind of wrong. And if I ever went back and revisited and did similar things like this or anything, I could probably tweak them a lot better now and stuff like that, My personal stance anyway, a sign of being a great artist is when you can draw anything with minimal references usage. Fair. Yeah, very fair. I mean, because you have a very strong visual library. I think for me personally, because of how much, and you know this too about me, Cats, I think like with how much of a how much of a perfectionist that I am, you know. I believe I'm always going to use references. Like, I just think that's going to be me because I'm an uber perfectionist. Almost to the point where, like, I overanalyze a lot. And I think my overanalyzing that I do at times will end up, like, messing me up even more. But that's, like, a personal battle for me, you know? Like, as far as when I'm doing things, like, trying to do arts and stuff like that, everything. But, the visual library aspect of it and stuff like that, you know, yes, it does expand, and then there's other things that you can pick up without having to use reference. But I know, like, but I think for me, I'm always going to be that person that's going to be using references. That's just me. In my opinion, your perfectionism thing will be a strength in the future. Yeah, hopefully. That is if I don't drive myself insane, you know? Because of my, my perfectionism. Let's see. Next piece. Ah, Makoto! It's Coots! So this one, I kind of was experimenting with, like, trying to eliminate line art. Or make not line art stand out as much. So, like, it kind of has that bit of aesthetic. Really, the only things that kind of stand out, neck was a little too thick. Anatomy-wise, is a little off. I was happy with the tail. I was super happy with how the tail came out for her. So, like, that's why I was like, you know, just trying some different things out. Shading is getting a little better. I, you know, started using more, like, light source to try to figure out, like, how I wanted to do shading and all that stuff and everything. So I was happy with, like, how shading and stuff was coming across. I decided to have her doing a wink here because, again, trying to do the other eye here, just for whatever reason, things weren't working. It, like, just wasn't looking right. So I'm like, you know what? Let's have her winking. She would be a wink. She would be the type that would wink at things. You know, she's got that bubbly personality. Obviously, you know, people that know who Makoto is from BlazBlue, well, no, that's her. She's just bubbly. You know, joyful personality. But yeah, it was also, like I said, trying to do a tail and everything like that, and I was just like, wow, I'm actually really happy. And I do kind of like the little shadow overcast here, like around her arm and stuff like that, to add more shadow dimension with the tail. So again, things are still kind of being pieced together. But here we are. I think this is like maybe after 3 or 4 months progress. So if we go back to that being my very first piece that I did in late August last year, move forward about 3 or 4 months, and then this is the progress here that we're at now. Yeah, already some better progress. Already some better things taking place. Still some things to kind of get used to and get better at, but yeah, kind of a big difference after just a few months here, you know? This might have been... So this was the last piece that I did in 2021. And I actually was doing this one on stream, if I remember correctly. And I think for 2021, for this being my final piece, this would be, let's see, late August, September, October, November, December. So this would be like 4 months of progress. I really, really liked this one. This one worked out really, really good. Yeah, this one was really good. And like, Cats, I remember you gave me the suggestion of giving her red highlights to make it look like she was starting to turn Orochi. But yeah, this was my fan art of Leona from King of Fighters. I came across this pose on Pinterest, and I'm like, what character fits this pose? And Leona came to mind. You know, being, you know, she's a military girl, King of Fighters. Looks like she's getting ready to do like a training exercise of some type. She's taping up her fists and everything, getting ready to tackle a task at hand and everything. Yeah, this one I was really, really happy with. And like I said, definitely things started getting together, come together a bit more for sure. And like I said, this was the very last piece I did in 2021. That was, yeah, a lot of fun. Like literally, I think like the last week of December was when I did this one. And I was like, I kind of like this. Some things I probably still would tweak now with the things I know, but all in all, yeah, pretty solid. So this was the last piece that I did in 2021. And let's go for the very first art piece I did in 2022. And did Anne from Persona 5. I remember this one got a lot of response as far as the pieces I did. Yeah, this one was very cute. I also, was trying something different with her hair. Trying to do different, highlights and shading and stuff like that, especially with the pigtails and everything. Had her in a red dress and everything. Arms were actually correct length, so I was happy with that, at least with the pose. Neck was still a little thick, though. I don't know why. It looked like I just had thick neck syndrome. But the eyes aren't off that much-ish. But yeah, again, things were kind of still getting pieced together. Still trying to work on some stuff. But yeah, again, things are, they're still getting, still trying to find the things that work right the way I would like. And, but I was pretty happy with this one. And I was pretty happy it got a really cool response from everybody as well. My first OC. This was my very first OC that I made. Named her Tsubame Barbosa was the name I gave her. I kind of gave her a backstory as well, being like she was a loan shark, kind of like a collector for loan sharks in Kamurocho. And it was kind of like, all right, yeah, I want to make a Yakuza storyline with a female protagonist, because like I remember playing Yakuza 0, and when you meet Miss Tatsu, and she was the one that granted you like the Beast style playthrough for Kiryu, I was kind of like, yeah, I want to make a character that's kind of similar to that. And I started again trying to play more with like body definition, like muscle definition, things like that. Put a little vest on her too. I had the crop top with the blue jeans, things like that. There was a lot of different influences that I used with this character when I made her. So it was like the characters that were an influence on her were like Bullet from BlazBlue, Asuka from Tekken, Blue Mary from King of Fighters. So like it was a few different ones that was like the influence for making Tsubame here, which, by the way, I should look at doing another art piece of Tsubame. I haven't done a Tsubame piece in a long time, so maybe that's what I do next time. Maybe it's time to do another OC fan piece of Tsubame. And I remember she was really, really well received. I remember one of my other art friends, Brother Kyo, raved about this character. So, Brother Kyo, if you ever watch us, maybe we could integrate Tsubame in some of your lore, maybe potentially. Just a thought, just saying. But yeah, this was like things started coming together really good with this one. This right here. So this is the very first art piece that I did that was full digital, start to finish. Did the sketch digital, did the inking and line art digital. Everything was all digital. This was the very first full digital piece that I did. This is when I got my tablet as well. I want to say I got my tablet, which is a XP Pen digital tablet that I have. This was the very first art piece that I did of that. And it's funny, I remember Katz, you were like, hey, this could be Yuzu. And I was just like, dang it, why am I making characters that are similar? But you were right. This definitely could have passed as like Yuzuriya just waking up. But like, this is like when like I said, very first like full digital art piece that I did. Where I did the sketch from start to finish. It's also when I found out, like, the program that I use to do my digital art stuff and everything is Clip Studio Paint. And this is also when I found out when Clip Studio has 3D models. So I would use the models as the reference. Again, you know, we'll just import them and then sketch out everything based off of the model. You know, so I'd, put circles where like the joints were and everything, do lines for where the bones. So I'd stick figure it and then just sketch everything else out. And then add all the details and stuff like that for that. So that's how this was done. But like I said, this was the first full digital art piece that I did when it came to the art progress. We got Tsubame again. A little bit different this time around. Kind of changed some things up with my OC here. Made her skin tone a little darker, so she has a little bit of a darker complexion. Gave her a little more curviness, but then definitely like added some more lines to like give her some more muscle definition and stuff like that. I was pretty happy with like the face expression I gave her too. Like you could tell like she's ready to throw down. The smile that she has and everything too. Like, yeah, I was really happy with how this came out. Especially like the fist in the hand and everything. Like she's just ready to throw down. And also decided to try to like add like a different add like a shadow reflection back on the wall and everything. The actual lioness part here, I kind of took a stock image of that and changed that. So, but it's just kind of like add decoration there. But that's I think. Well, no, there was one other Tsubame piece I did that I'll show here in a little bit, but that was just a redo now, like with applying new practices and stuff with this piece, and I was pretty happy with it. This was kind of a practice piece of doing full body, so at this point I really didn't attempt to do much full body. And then at this point, I was like, yeah, I really need to get better at trying to do full body. So, because a lot of my stuff was like either thigh up or like waist up and things like that. And I'm like, I really haven't done a lot of full body. So this was kind of that. That's practicing, trying to do more or less full body and everything, especially with a different angle and stuff. Just kind of like a simple background I threw together too. At this point too, like as I'm trying to refine things and everything, I was still kind of running across a deal where like eyes weren't exactly looking right and everything. So like I was like, well, we'll just do our typical wink on the other side since I can't get this damn eye right on this side or whatever. Perspective was still kind of a bitch for me, as far as like trying to integrate different perspectives and stuff. So like this was a good practice for me to try to do a full body one, but perspective was still something I was like, man, I'm still having a foreign concept of, which led to this. I'm like, well, I need to practice perspective more, so that's what we're gonna try here. This was another OC I made of Kenna Phoenix, who is a wrestler. Realizing now, looking at this, I messed up the shading a bit too on this, especially like since I was trying to do perspective. But like I said, it was more or less just trying to learn the perspective aspect. So like that's why I kind of changed the angle around as far as, you know, how I was sketching out the model and everything, and was using the model as reference for trying to do perspective and things with this. It was a decent attempt. Obviously, there's a lot of things that still like was kind of a little rough for me. Like the eyes are, while like symmetrically, while like visually they line up correctly. This one, the one like looking closer to us, is a little too big when I look at it now. But it was still a decent attempt at perspective, I think. It's still something that I need to get better with, is drawing some different poses at different perspectives. But at least like this one was kind of like a good practice and helped me try to get a little bit better understanding, which I decided to try again with this one being a different perspective too, where, you know, you see the character here just kind of reaching out as she's kind of frolicking around her and stuff like that. My God, I don't know what the hell I was thinking with the shoe. Jesus, like God, I could have shaded that a lot better. But yeah, again, this was more perspective practice, trying to figure things out with that. I remember Cats, like we were talking about this and we were like, man, something's wrong with the boobs. Like couldn't quite figure out like how to get that right, because of the way the perspective was. But I try to be like, you know what, here, let's actually just break up the lines a bit and see if maybe that fixes it or makes it a little better. And it kind of worked. But it was still very much yeah, I still have a lot to learn, with this and everything. Yeah. And like I said, looking back at it, yeah, it's still kind of weird. But like, this was a thing like I couldn't quite figure out how to fix, as far as this piece went and everything. Even though it kind of worked, looking back at it, it's still kind of like, yeah, there's some things that are off. I bet if I retried this, I could figure out what I did and make it work and make it be better again. So this might be like a pose I maybe try to revisit and maybe retry to do. But it ended up, like I said, for the most part, it ended up being okay. But it was still, yeah, still kind of a challenge as far as like figuring that out. And now we have the daughter of what if Diluc and Jean from Genshin Impact had a daughter, this is who she would be. I think I was trying to do like more of a fantasy style looking character with this. And at this point too, I started kind of getting a better idea of how I wanted to do the eyes. Eyes were starting to look more normal in that regard. I also kind of messed around with the hair a little bit. Tried some different things. Also added like a little effect here where she's like holding her finger up and she looks like she's like channeling like some magic power from her fingers. So I was like messing around with that effect and everything. But like there's still like some shading stuff I'm still trying to figure out. I haven't quite got a grasp of like how I wanted shading to be, although this was looking closer to what I wanted, but it was still like trying to figure out coloring and stuff like that. But yeah, I was pretty happy with this piece. Gave her like a little neck piece that's like holding like her little cape that she has, or like her little hood. I don't know exactly what that was. It was kind of like a little mini cape, but not really a cape. I don't know. But I was happy with this one. Because I was like, okay, now things are starting to kind of come together a little bit. This piece I'm pretty proud of too. This was a very fun piece to do. And this was also Kat's suggestion of a piece to do, which was Tifa in Striker's outfit from Dungeon Fighter. Now this was also Tifa. The hairstyle I chose for Tifa was her Advent Children look, when she kind of cut her hair a little bit. She didn't have like the super long hair like she does in like the early Final Fantasy VII or like Final Fantasy Remake or anything. This was her Advent Children look as far as her hairstyle goes. But then, like I said, you did the classic Striker outfit, and I was pretty happy with this one. Like, the shading was really good. I started kind of figuring out how I wanted to do shading with some like tutorials that I was watching and everything. Yeah, this one I was pretty happy with as far as like the actual like pose and stuff with this. Things, like I said, they're starting to come together a little bit more. The only thing, I guess, if I was to critique it, looking at it now, is that the shading on the skin kind of looks a little muddy. I'm sure if I like lowered the opacity, and now like what I do with like shading skin and stuff is I actually do like an inner glow now on the point where the shading and like the skin base color kind of meet, which I guess the term for that is the terminator. Like, I've started doing like an inner glow on that part to kind of make things a little more lively. So like if I was to go back and redo that probably would be the one thing that I might add to try to not make the skin look like it's got some dried on mud for the shading. But outside of that, I mean, yeah, this was one I was pretty proud of as far as the art progress. And then here's Eiko from your boy Kong Ming. I remember doing this piece. Cute pose. Eiko was a character I really liked in that series. She was super adorable. Simple girl with simple dreams. Kind of a goofball, but super talented in the show and everything. Admittedly, this part was like, this is where like I'm like, oh wait a minute, I don't quite know how clothes work. So I'm like, that's got to be the next thing I gotta kind of figure out is what are clothes and how do they work. That's literally the next thing I have to figure out. So like this piece, while I like the pose and like everything else with it, it definitely showed a glare of like, okay, now comes the next step as far as the progress goes, which is now I have to figure out how clothing works and doing, you know, wrinkles and folds and the different shading when it comes to that. Like that was when I was like, I need to work on that a little more, try to figure that out and everything. But yeah, everything else was like cool. I'm okay with this, with kind of like how it looks and stuff. What is the next piece that I have here? Find out. Ah, yeah, Key from Dirty Pair Flash. I remember a lot of people really liked this piece that I did. Like as far as like people that saw this for the first time and like even like people that like aren't like into this particular art style and stuff like that, everything were even commenting, being like, wow, this looks really, really solid. So I was kind of happy with that. And to kind of show you like what I meant earlier, let's see if I can try to zoom in a little bit on this. Yeah, so you see on the skin here, right? You see kind of like this little red, like where the shading is and then where the base color of the skin tone is. You see how there's like that little like shading of red that's around that part when you look at the character and stuff. That's what I was meaning earlier by like when I was looking at the Tifa piece. I'm like, dang, an inner glow would have worked out pretty good there. That's kind of what I was referencing. You kind of see it a little bit there. And like I took some chances with like colors and stuff. Like I added a different, you know, an extra shade as well, like a darker shade. And so this was kind of like experimenting with this, but like, yeah, I was really happy with this one. Like I think honestly, like even looking back at like this piece and like looking at pieces I've done recently and stuff, I think this one is still up there as like one of my better pieces that I did. Like me personally, like this one I was like really happy with. Looking back at it, I don't know if like there's anything else I would do differently as far as the actual piece itself. Maybe adding, well, now with what I'm doing, like maybe adding some more lighting, because lately with the, and you'll see it here in a second with these next few pieces that will be coming up eventually here, I started really messing around with the lighting of pieces, and I think the lighting has added a pretty strong dynamic to like the pieces I've done most recently. But this one, I was just like, yeah, this one worked out really, really well. I was really happy with this one. All right. Cats, I know you're going to grill me for this one because I know this is the one where like working on more dynamic poses and looking more on like trying to do more action poses. So that's kind of what I was trying to do. I was trying to do a perspective of like, hey, you're in the octagon with Tsubame here. This is early Tsubame too. Like, so this would be like younger Tsubame. So I was like, hey, we're trying to do a part where you're getting kicked in the head. Admittedly, I think I know what I could do now to kind of fix this and like change this a little bit more. Like adding a blur effect, especially like with the kick and stuff. and maybe bending the leg a little bit more. So, and this is like also too where I was kind of like, yeah, I wanted to play with lighting a little bit more because you can see a little bit of the lighting. I probably could still do a better job with it, with the lighting and everything, but like, some of the lighting aspects did work out better. But yeah, if I look at doing another piece like this again, I would definitely, I now know what I could do with adding like a blur effect and stuff like that and everything too. Like, yeah, it did end up looking good, especially for like this being my first attempt at doing something like this. As far as like a dynamic shot like this with like doing like a leg perspective and stuff. There are some things I would do a little differently, but all in all, like considering this was like my first time trying this, it came out good. It came out good. I think now, like I said, if I tried this again, I'd have a better understanding of what I could do to execute it better. But still, it ended up being pretty solid. And we got Lucy. Lucy from Fairy Tail decided to do like a summer, like beach, like, you know, summer look. This was during the summer and everything. I was really happy with like how the lighting came out. Like this is where I started experimenting more with some of the lighting. So I had the sun up here on the right corner, and you can see some of the lighting here for her. It's funny when I look back at this because, like, obviously in Fairy Tail, there's so many damn different outfits all the characters have, especially like all the damn different forms that they have. So I couldn't like figure out what outfit to put her in, because she has so many damn variations. And Fairy Tail is also a very fan servicey show, because of that aspect. So I eventually kind of settled like with like a mix hybrid of her look, and I was like, yeah, sure, bikini look. This would 100% be something that Lucy would wear. So yeah, summertime Lucy. Really happy with like how the lighting and stuff came out, but there's that. So this one, looking back at this one, this was, while it came out okay, like I think it still is solid. I remember this kind of being like the first piece I was somewhat disappointed in. I think the reason that I was kind of disappointed in this piece was because I feel like I could have done the eyes better, but like I was trying to do something different with the eyes. And I was trying to avoid like the same eye, same face look. Especially with Cammy, since she's very much a more straightforward character. And everything. Like, she's definitely more of a badass. So, I was trying to do something a little different with that. And I wasn't really happy with how I executed it. Everything else looked pretty good. Like her hair, like I like how I did her hair. Her hair came out okay. Lighting as well looks decent too, but like at the end of the day, I felt like it was just like missing something. I still kind of do think it's missing some stuff. But this was like when we also like the leaks happened for Street Fighter 6, and we got to see, you know, Cammy's new look, and I was just like, oh wow, I'm actually a fan of her redesign. Like, Street Fighter 6's redesign for their characters and everything are all really, really good. And I was actually a really big fan of Cammy's redesign. So I was like, I really want to draw a redesign. And that's what I attempted. That's what I tried. I was happy with the jacket. I liked how the jacket came out. I felt like I did, you know, considering it was my first time messing with a jacket like that. Sorry, I had to sneeze there. I think like that was executed well, decent enough. But yeah, looking at that, looking at this, there's still like some things that I could have done better. This piece shows a lot of improvement. In a lot of different aspects, yeah, there are some different improvements that I was pretty happy with, but there's still parts I wish I could have done a little bit better. But you know, hey, I mean, sometimes that happens, right? Like, you know, not every art piece you do is gonna come out exactly the way you want it, but you try to find ways to, you know, figure out how you can make things work, and I think there was a lot of that done with this. So, most important thing was that it was a piece that I finished, but it was definitely something that I kind of look back on and I'm like, I think I can tweak some things and make some things better, but this was, like I said, it ended up working out. It ended up being decent looking. But I do look back at this and be like, I wish there was some aspects I could have done a little better. So this piece right here, to this day, this piece is my most well-received, most liked art piece that I have done so far. Alma from Valhalla, which reminds me, I need to finish Valhalla. I really need to finish that game. I'm gonna put that on my to-do list. I will do whatever I can to finish that game. But yeah, this one, like, was the piece I got the most, like, actually had gotten trended. Sukaban Games actually liked and retweeted this art piece. I think the writer of Valhalla as well liked and retweeted it. And I was really, really happy with how this one came out. Like looking back at this one, yeah, like the glasses, the eyes were on point for me. If there was one thing I could do a little better, might be the hair here. But everything else, like the colors, the shading, everything else with this, like, yeah, I was really, really happy with it. And like, Alma is probably my favorite character in Valhalla. You know, of course, the big titty hacker. But, and then like the different colors I chose with like the cyberpunk feel and everything. Yeah, this one was like, yeah, this was probably my best, like, at this time, like, my best piece that I've done to this point. Was super happy with it. And to be honest, I kind of want to I kind of want to do another Alma art piece. I did not realize how many people love this character until I did this art piece. And it's just like, I should look at redoing this, or like doing another one of Alma. But that was, yeah, this one was definitely, up to this point, was the most well received like art piece that I have done so far. Like I said, if there's one thing I could do differently, it might be the hair, to try to make it a little more flowy. But everything else was pretty happy with. My DNF dual hype striker. This was a test, especially with the hair. This character's hair makes no damn sense whatsoever. It's like, being honest, this character's hair is like the ultimate, like, what the hell's going on? How does this even work? But it does. Like I said, DNF Duel was close to dropping. I was going to be playing Striker as a main, and I was really looking forward to this game. So I was like, yeah, I really want to do a Striker fan art piece. I think as far as eyes go at this point, I think this is still like the best job I did on eyes. When you look at it, like adding like the glow here and everything like that, like I was really happy with her eyes here. Yeah, why do hair have joints? Exactly. Like this part here too, where like the hair is separated in two different like long like hair lengths. Like this does not make sense at all, but it works out. I was also trying to mess around with like the different like perspective here. So like you see she's winding up for a punch. I got the added like a chi effect where she's like channeling like energy into like her fist because she's about ready to do like her finishing like punch strike and everything. So like as far as the aesthetic and everything, like how this came out, like I was really happy with it. And like I said, I'm starting to like get a better grasp of the perspective and the poses and everything, stuff like that. And it worked out. Really happy with it. Like especially adding, you can see the muscle definition with her arms and stuff. Especially like with the forearm being taped up to a certain point and everything, you still see the muscle definition coming from like out of the tape and stuff. Like, yeah, was really happy with this one. So this is Rias. Rias Grimoire. Was trying to get more familiar with like the dress stuff and everything, and I was happy with a lot of this and everything. This piece though was definitely a piece where there was another artist in a Discord that I'm in. It goes by Heavy Lead. It's either Heavy Lead or Heavy Lead. I'm gonna say Heavy Lead. And they're like, hey, this piece is really good, but there's some things that I would like to show you that would make this even better. And this is where, like, again, my lack of knowledge on clothing was kind of showing here as far as what the dress is and everything. And he showed me some different parts of, like, you know, folds and where they bend and everything and stuff like that. I really should have showed should have really found the image that he sent me that showed like the corrections and stuff like that of what to do. And the other thing that, like, outside of that, like when he showed me like the correction stuff, one thing he also kind of pointed out was there are certain like colors that you should do to really add more contrast. So like I was trying to do like folds in the dress, right? And you can sort of see it, but it's still kind of dulled out, right? As far as you can't really notice it that much. Like you can see the shading, but the lighter clothing of like the top fold or whatever of the dress or stuff like that, don't really see. So like the advice he gave me was, don't be afraid to have a lot of contrast with your colors. As well as like, you know, the folds and everything with the clothes and stuff. So I honestly learned a lot from like the stuff that he was showing me. And I was like, okay, this is actually really good, advice for the art pieces that I try to do in the future. So like this piece, while I liked it and I, still think it's solid, like it was a opportunity to learn something new, which comes here to Sailor Jupiter in her Chinese dress. I kind of had fun with this one. Added some different effects with like the sakura leaves, like the sakura blossom petals, kind of flowing around and everything. Adding like the blur effect to make it look like, hey, they're blowing in the wind and stuff. And this also was like an opportunity to learn a different dress style with like learning, trying to do like a Chinese dress. I kind of got creative and added, detail with the dress having like this flower petal design and everything. But see here now, like I'm adding these extra folds, right? Like taking the advice that Heavy Lead gave me as far as what to do with the clothing. So now you see like there's folds here and just where the dress kind of like does bend at like certain shapes of the body and everything, and added try to add a little more contrast with like the folds and shading and everything, and like it definitely helped out for sure when it came to like the actual art piece. Yeah, this one was like a turning point art piece for sure. With this one, especially like I said, with like the actual detail design added to like the dress and stuff. And like the artist that actually, like I said, Heavy Lead actually told me, which I was kind of surprised he said this, because he's someone that goes to cons and stuff like that too and everything, and been to cons. And he told me like I still have the Discord message too. Like he told me straight up like, hey, this would be a piece that people would want to buy at a convention and stuff, which I think he was being a little like trying to be super nice about it, to talk about like the improvement and everything. But still though, I mean, that's something he didn't have to say, Probably one thing I would try to maybe look to adjust, I wish I could maybe shade this hand, the one that's like kind of pressed, sort of pressed against her chest here. I wish I could have shaded that a little better. That's kind of the only thing that I'm looking at that I could fix. But yeah, everything else I'm like, yeah, I was definitely trying to take what was taught to me, or what was shown to me. I was trying to take it to heart and trying to apply it as best of a practice as I can, Let's see. Next art piece. We got Yor. From Spy Family, which Spy Family Season 2 coming out soon. I still need to watch the first season of that. But yeah, this is Yor. I never did like any sitting poses, and it had been a while too since I did like a full body pose with like, especially sitting and everything. So this was kind of like trying to test that. And again, utilizing the stuff that was kind of taught to me, or like kind of shown to me. I was trying to utilize that more here too. And still a good piece, but like there were some other things that I was shown here that I might kind of like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like some of the like clothing with the sweater and stuff, I could have like extended out a little bit and like showed like the clothing separating from skin, things like that. But this was more or less like I was trying to focus more on doing like this type of pose, and trying to work on that and figure that one out. So like the pose and everything I was super happy with. But like, yeah, if I was to do this again, if I was to add clothes and stuff like that, I do know what I would do a bit differently with the clothing this time around. But pose-wise, I was very happy with. So this was kind of like this was a fan art of Ciel from Tsukuhime, or like Melty Blood, in like a more casual looking outfit. I didn't do a lot of like poses that were like characters looking back or like showing more of a back pose. So this was kind of like a first attempt at that. And I also wanted to do like some cool effects with like putting like a little aura glow around her as well. So like this was like more or less experimenting around. I did, you know, do things where like I was this time around, you know, adding some like spots where the clothes would be sort of away from the skin. I was also trying to do parts too where like, you know, you see the shorts on the skin, so like a little bit of body squish, I guess would be the proper term. That would be here. Eyes I was really happy with. I was really happy with how the eyes came out here. But that was, like I said, more experimenting with like never doing like not really ever doing a back pose. So this was more or less like experimenting with that. Then we have a piece that I did probably about a month ago now, Orihime. Of course, Bleach, the 1,000-Year War arc got announced, so we're going to be seeing that. I liked how it came out. I remember, Cats, you probably remember this too. I was really overthinking this one a lot. For whatever reason, there was just things like, I remember like eyes. The eyes were what was bugging me the most. The eyes and like the hand here with, you know, where she has her, kind of like her hand wrapped around her arm here, with the pose and stuff. Like, I remember like there was things that were like agitating me, because I don't know, like at that time it was looking weird, and I was sitting there wondering, I'm like, well, am I over analyzing? Am I looking at this, you know, like just being too critical and everything? And I remember Cats being like, dude, there's nothing wrong with this. This looks good. Why are you freaking out? Why are you over analyzing? Like, I remember him saying that, like you're overthinking this too much. Like, step away from it. Go on to something else in the meantime. Come back to it. And I have to admit, he was right. Especially like the times I was trying to overcorrect and stuff. It ended up looking worse. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm just going to stay with it. Which is like sometimes it was a good lesson to learn that like sometimes your first attempt at something is honestly your best attempt. If you try to overcorrect like a small detail, you can end up messing it up more. And I was like, wow, yeah, that's pretty much a good reminder. But yeah. This is also too where I was wanting to mess with the lighting more. So like the light up here with like shining on our head here, and like, you know, just trying to be more like, trying to figure out the right way to word it, but like messing around with lighting more and making like, yeah, like having the lighting really, you know, amplify like the character and stuff like that. Like that's what I was trying to go for here and everything. So That's, like I said, something that I've been trying to explore and experiment with more. And even doing like different angles of lighting and like angles of like how the light work and stuff. So that, like, this was a good like barometer of that. So yeah, this was about a month ago when I did this one. So we're gonna look back. This again, very first piece that I did, very first art piece, to a month ago. However, there's one more piece that I did that was the most recent piece that I made that I'm going to show now. That I made, I want to say, probably like 4 or 5 days ago. This one. This is the most recent piece that I made. And like I mentioned earlier, I wanted to play with different lighting, right? Like, and have lighting be different. So like, this is where like the sunset and everything is like behind her. So all the light is behind the character. You still see it like on the outer edges of the character. And a little bit of lighting that does disperse here and there. But this was this is the most recent piece I did. And I think it's my favorite piece I've done so far too. Because of some different chances that I took, especially with lighting and stuff. Admittedly, I do like, warmer colors. I do like, just colors in general, especially warmer colors like your reds, your oranges, your yellows. I'm very much a fan of those. So that's why I kind of worked it out that way. And as far as faces go, as far as doing faces, I think this is probably like the best face that I've done. As far as like trying to make something like cute, and there's perspective with the shading. You can tell she's kind of bending down a little bit, being happy, being go lucky. She's just enjoying the sunset, man. Just enjoying the sunset. And enjoying having you being with her in that regard, Yeah. I think this one is probably my best piece I've done. Yeah, really, really happy with how this has come. Especially, like I said, it's been a little over a year now since I started doing digital art and stuff. And I'm hoping I can take this one that I've done and like improve even more and do even more better quality pieces, to where it's funny when I go back and look at it, art piece, I'll be like, oh geez, I should have corrected this, that, and the other. But like, considering where I'm at and considering how much I've learned over this year or so, I think this one is just like, yeah, it's a good show of like where I'm at now as far as my benchmark is concerned. There were also some other things too that like I was looking up some settings in Clip Studio Paint, and Um, I noticed there was some settings that were kind of off that they weren't supposed to be. Mainly pen font sizes and stuff. When it came to doing like the inking and stuff like that and everything, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this is set to something different. It shouldn't be set to this. So I changed some configurations around as far as settings and everything, and it definitely helped a ton. Yeah, this is probably the piece I am most proud of. So I want to say, like, my favorite pieces, obviously this one, the most recent one I did. The Jupiter one, I really like a lot. The Orihime piece I do like because, like, I started getting a grasp of, like, how I wanted to tackle lighting. The Alma piece, of course, too. I'm really happy with that. It's probably a favorite piece of mine too. It's because this is also the piece that really trended the most for me. So like that piece I really am a fan of. The Striker piece that I did too, because of dynamic pose. And this piece of Key from Dirty Pair Flash. I think that one, Alma, Striker, Jupiter, Orihime, and the most recent piece I did. I think those are my best ones now when I look back at everything that I've done and stuff. So, but yeah, there it is. There's a look at it. Hour and a half long live stream. As far as my art journey for the past year or so. Like I said, I know that there's still things I do need to improve with and get better with. I totally get that. I totally understand that. But considering where I started and where I am now, like, I'm very, very happy with how things have been. And it's honestly been, like, as far as, like, things I've done, and, like, I've done a lot of different things. This has definitely been, like, the most enjoyable thing for me to do in a while. And it's also, honestly, the reason why, like, I really haven't live streamed as much as I would like, or, like, you know, the gaming aspects and everything, stuff like that. It's honestly because I just been wanting to just chill and just do more drawing. Yeah, I'm glad I picked it up. A lot of people, obviously, that's been there to kind of help me with things and, like, critique me and tell me, you know, things I should fix and, you know, improve. That's always been there. Been super supportive. Obviously, I mentioned Rev earlier, who's also been, like, personal instructor as far as what to do with art. Katz, obviously, you as well, with how much you've helped and all the critiques you've given me. Zenosuke, Brandon, Brother Keo, who are other artists that's helped out. Heavy Lead, who's another artist that's helped out as well with things. And the other thing, you know, this kind of point out too, like, a lot of this stuff I did was self-taught, you know. Obviously Rev showed me some things, and, like, Heavy Lead showed me some things as far as stuff, but a lot of the things that you've seen with these pieces were done through a lot of trial and error of me personally too, with different tutorials and different videos I've tried to watch and trying to develop my own recipe of things and stuff. Like, a lot of this was all self-taught. I didn't take any art school classes or online course stuff or anything, you know? It was just looking up a lot of different videos and resources that are available out there on YouTube, and then also just a lot of trial and error. And this is kind of where I'm at with things now. And like I said, I'm pretty happy with things. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing more art. I'm going to keep doing as much as I can and try to improve as much as I can. Because it's definitely been an enjoyable year and now a month that I've been doing this stuff and everything, and it's been a lot of fun. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys liked it. If you guys want, you guys can follow me on the social outlets here. I do have an Instagram, which I'm probably going to be posting most of my art stuff to anyway on Instagram, which is you just look it up, RCB Draws. There is a Twitter account as well, which is RCB Draws. If you guys want to follow that stuff or anything, I do appreciate it. With that said, I think I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. I am gonna be hopping back into Soul Hackers 2 probably Monday night. Fun little tidbit, I'm actually going to be upgrading GPUs on my PC. I was able to get my hands on a 3070 Ti now. So Monday, my boy Lewis is going to come by, and we're going to install the new GPU. So that's going to hopefully help, processing things better. So I'm pretty excited about that. So hoping Monday night we'll hop back into more Soul Hackers 2 and have fun with that. And I think as well, Tuesday night I'll reserve to do a Valhalla stream. And maybe on Valhalla, just so cats, you can use your Valhalla emotes. Maybe I'll do one final Twitch stream for Valhalla and try to complete that, so you could use the use the Valhalla emotes. I think I'll do that. So, but yeah, guys, that's gonna be it. Appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate you guys hanging out. It's been a fun 1-year art journey, and I'm gonna keep doing more. I'm gonna keep making things. Also, like, if you like what you see, you can like and subscribe on my YouTube channel. It definitely helps. Yeah, again, just want to thank Rev, Cats, Zen, Brother Keo, Brandon, Heavy Lead as well for a lot of different art tips and a lot of different, just helping me with the art journey. It's been fun. So until then, until next time, like I said, much likely be Monday night when we hop back into Soul Hackers 2. Thanks again. You guys take care. Be easy. I will see you guys then for when I play more Soul Hackers 2. Take care and be easy. Thanks for watching.